In today's video, we're going to be taking a look here at these current conditions where we have storminess along the western United States here. As you can see, mostly showery activity here. We see that there is a bit of a low here across the southwest here. And this is kind of finishing up some storminess here along the west. But for the most part, and we'll take a look at the model guidance in a little bit, there's going to be less and less of this activity happening along the west. Now, as we take a look here at the southeast, we can see this pocket of more showery activity that we've been calling for a few days now. This is associated with kind of these frontal boundaries that are in the area for the Ohio Valley and the southeast, but these are just passing showers, and they're going to be just cold showers, I would say, and mostly light to moderate in there. We can see that there is a bit of a stronger low up here over the Great Lakes, and we can even see that there is a swirl to this, so we can see that everything is kind of moving in this counterclockwise motion here, and this is bringing snowfall across some of these more northern extent of things here, so we can see all the way through upstate New York and through Canada, and then back down through into Minnesota and Wisconsin. Mostly rainfall happening here for some of the Great Lakes, though, for portions of southern Wisconsin and lower peninsula of Michigan there. Now, there isn't really a whole lot to go over here, so what we're going to do is we're going to move right on into the upcoming guidance. We do have plenty of storminess upcoming, especially in the eastern United States. We are going to see the jet stream, the northern jet at least, do something that's a little bit extreme, but something more like this. And we are going to see this Gulf of Mexico stream of moisture kind of join up with that. And this is going to create a lot of storminess in this area that I'm circling here. Basically, a majority of the eastern third of the nation here will see the most precipitation overall in this area. And then multiple snowfall opportunities here kind of in the northeastern corner of the nation. So we're going to be watching for all of these things in just a moment. Now, here we are taking a look at this European model, first things first, and we can see that by the time we reach, let's get this towards about tomorrow afternoon, so Wednesday the 8th here, we see a stronger storm developing from the low that was previously located over the southwest, has now moved here across into the plains. And we can see that this is bringing a cold front underneath, warm front up above. And this is kind of more of your typical severe weather setup across the plains. We've been seeing quite a bit of this type of activity here. Pretty much all January. It's been a surprisingly severe January as far as severe weather is concerned. We do see that there is snowfall taking place across Colorado, Wyoming, South Dakota, Nebraska, and portions of Kansas there as well. We even have another low moving onshore to the northwest. But all of this Pacific activity is going to start to slow down here. Now, for Wednesday into Thursday, we're kind of watching this corridor here for severe weather. But there, Thursday into Friday, we're definitely watching this corridor here, more of your Dixie Alley area, kind of the deeper south, southeast area for the severe weather as that cold front is extending south like this. Warm front is way up above right here, and we can definitely tell that there is Gulf moisture heading in. We see little green dots here indicating that we definitely have a flow of moisture just like this out ahead of that cold front. That is a recipe for disaster, so we need to really watch that closely. There's no telling how major this event is going to be yet, but we need to really just watch it closely. We do see that this cold front extends underneath as some showers and isolated thunderstorms for the southeast as we're reaching Thursday into Friday here. We do see a little bit of snow on the front end of things here for New England and even on the back end here for the Great Lakes. By the time we're reaching approximately Saturday afternoon here, this is when we start to get this more Gulf energy moving in. So we start to see this activity. We kind of see a low moving across as well. As your jet stream is doing more of this type of a look here with the jet stream. Like I mentioned before, I think the upcoming pattern is prime for southeast sliders here, southern sliders. The only problem here is just not enough cold air, but the storm track is just classic, so it's really a missed opportunity. I mean, even see this flow of things right here, like that is completely classic. There's just not enough cold air there to support this, and it does eventually slide to the north, bringing some snowfall here to some of the mid-Atlantic, but mostly a minor snowfall event. This event, however, we get more of a Miller A type nor'easter look, more of an inland track though. And this is moving up through North Carolina and Virginia, and I do think that this has quite a bit of potential there around the 25th. We can see that there is plenty of mixed activity happening here on Wednesday the 25th. This eventually switches over to purely snow for the Appalachian Mountain Range, a very classic, more inland eastern snowfall track here. We can see an extremely strong nor'easter there. I can hardly read what it says, but I think it's a 984. I think that's what we're seeing here. Low over the Delmarva. Very, very intense. And with this strong of a low, what we're probably seeing is the warm air surging here on the eastern end of things, and that's why we're seeing rainfall. But we see a lot of cold air damming down the west side of the Appalachian Mountains and over the Appalachian Mountain Range. And this is creating a lot of cold air. So that's why we see such a strong temperature difference. And this is kind of your dividing line here. We see such a huge difference in the temperatures there. And we see this just moves up into New England, bringing snowfall here to the northeast still. And then eventually it moves out. And we're kind of left here after the 25th in a very cold pattern here in the east. So we are seeing plenty of cold air here according to the European model here to close out January, which again, your European model is traditionally your most accurate model. So certainly if we're going to see it from any model, this one means the most. Now the total precipitation through the next 10 days looks like this. Anywhere in the whites, practically no precipitation. Your grays 1/10 of an inch or less. Your greens being 1/10 of an inch to 1/2 an inch. Blues 1/2 an inch to an inch. Your yellows 1 inch to 2 inches. Reds 2 to 5 inches there. And then your browns are going to be 5 to 10 inches of precipitation. So we can see that a majority of the major storminess is taking place in this eastern third of the nation. We're seeing a little bit still left over for the northwest, but that is even going to slow down soon. So we're seeing the west kind of getting shut off. This pipeline of storms is kind of coming to an end. And we're seeing now the Gulf taking over with where our moisture is coming from. And this leads towards the east, seeing tons and tons of activity. Now, total snowfall through the next 10 days looks like this. Anywhere in the grays, a dusting, if anything. Blues, 2 to 6 inches of snowfall. Purple, 6 to 10. Pinks, 10 to 20 there. Pastel blues, 20 to 35. And then your pastel pinks, which we're not really seeing a lot of anywhere, would be 35 inches plus. Now, quickly, let's move on and see what the GFS has to say here. As we continue this on, we're just going to go to the 20th and beyond. We do see we really start up with this Gulf energy here by about the 22nd. Now let's just see what happens with this, and we see that a lot of rainfall on this eastern end for the 23rd, and then the western end of things seeing snowfall up there. By the time we're reaching the 24th into the 25th, we see a much more northern solution with this storm around the 25th. We do have the storm, we do have the Gulf energy, so lots of moisture, but we can see that this storm is much warmer. We are seeing some snowfall here on the front end, but a much, much warmer solution here. We do eventually switch over to where we get just a really big snowstorm in the interior, but it's kind of a little bit less major than what we saw in that European model. Now we continue after this point to see the cold air in the east, just like on the European model here. A little bit of a flat jet stream, and what I mean by that is we're kind of seeing it track, well, not even like that. It's more like this. So if we were to get a storm to move along this, we would easily be able to get a snowstorm here in the more southern, more mid-Atlantic areas. With that cold air in place, we just don't see it happen yet here on this GFS model. We do eventually, though, get this type of a storm, which, again, this is exactly the type of track I've been kind of saying would be possible. We do get this kind of mid-Atlantic / southern Appalachian or Smoky Mountain snowstorm here on this GFS model. We're going to take this with a grain of salt, but that's for around the 30th, and that does move up through DC, Philadelphia, and we do see New York as well, and even Boston impacted by this one. As it kind of moves off and becomes more of a traditional nor'easter there, we see that move out, and then we're right here at the end of the model run seeing another storm about to get going from the Gulf. So we look to continue this pattern through February, and there is plenty of cold air compared to what we saw earlier in January available by this point as well, so certainly worth noting. Definitely an interesting pattern, in my opinion, upcoming. Some exciting things, but let's take it with a grain of salt, of course. Now, the Canadian model continues to kind of be the Debbie Downer, so we'll talk about that in a minute, but let's just take a look at what it does. We see the Gulf energy picking up here by the 22nd, so we now have this being shown on all of our models. But watch what happens here. We kind of get even worse results here than the GFS model. This southeast ridge is so much stronger here on this Canadian model. And what's forced to kind of happen is these storms move up like this instead of moving, like this, which is what you need to see any snowfall anywhere in here, basically. We see them moving far inland here like this, completely evading the eastern United States. We see that with that one. with some minor back-end snowfall, but much, much less snowfall potential in the eastern United States than any of the other two models are showing. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. We're going to continue to track this pattern daily. We do upload every single day, so be sure to subscribe. Be sure to hit that bell icon and click all videos to get daily notifications so you don't miss an upload when we do post a video. Be sure to like the video as well. Leave a comment down below, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next video.